There, we're going to be recasing this M6HA. No shim underneath the diff bearing race that goes over here. As with all your Hondas, make sure your lines on your seals are facing the same direction. Lever seal, make sure you lube that up really good. Go ahead and put these seals, lever seal, front seal, your axle seal in. On your bearing, make sure it's back all the way, stake it in place, or put the Sonax shim on your torque converter. You have a dowel pin here, dowel pin here, here, down here. Pump gear goes in. The little one goes in with the strap down. Pin goes on. Make sure in your pocket in here where that gear goes is nice and good, not all eat up. Go ahead and put your linkage on. Alright, your bolts here, you've got 3 12s, they're 1.533", one 10 millimeter, and it's 1.389". Got your check ball right there. It's 217. The spring pre-height of 567, outside 222, and coil diameter of 21. And it goes right there. Little filters that are in here, I always throw them away. Put your linkage in low gear. Got your 2 accumulators here. And a small one. The spring is 242, 2 inches, 2 inches 410, 755, 133. Got you an O-ring on there. There's a little recessed area the spring's got to sit down in. On the springs on the large one, we got 2 inches 653, 840, 108. Here again, it's got to sit down in the pocket. 2 inches 554. 105. We got another O-ring on here. You want to put the opening of your little wire keepers away from the opening over there. It doesn't really matter where you put them. groove. You got 2 long ones, 4 short ones. Long ones are inch 800 and 4 short ones are inch 390. There's a little plunger that goes in here. This is it from the factory. The factory spring, inch 294, 320, 41 thousandths. Now, I forgot to show you on these little end plugs. Little end plugs that go in here. On this one, I replaced this one on the end, this big one here, and this one right here. And this is your end plug kit from Sonax. That's probably Transtar's number. I'll look up and get what Sonax number is off the website. But I always put one of those in. And then on this particular one, Younger makes or Transgo makes a kit. This one has a Honda LK2. It's the one that fits this one. And I believe it's this one. Let me make sure before I go lying to you. Yes. Alright, so let's find out which ones. Alright, for the M6HA, fits several different models, so we're going to replace this spring with a black spring, and it says a 2-groove spacer. And it would be that one right there, the one with the 2 grooves. We put this spring inside here, just like so. Then we just drop that spacer down inside there, and we put this plunger on top. Then we would drill this body. Then we would drill this hole right here with a 156 thousandths drill bit and deburr it, and the plate would go on here. We got a dowel pin here and here, O-ring on here. And normally what I do is on this O-ring that goes on here, there's 2 different green O-rings that come in the kit. The darker green one I would put on here. And it fits really tight, so I would lube it really well and stick it inside the body that goes on here before, because you could cut it if you just try to push it on. It fits that tight. So I put it on there and then set the whole thing down. Let's see, got a dowel pin here. Dump in here. Separator plate on our body here. These are both the same. You don't have to worry about them. I would pull these two keys out of here, pull these end plugs out, pull the valves all the way out with the springs. Then I got a let's see, get this wire brush. I get in there with solvent running, and I run it back and forth through the port with the valve out. Then I blow it all out. Then I take the valves and I use some Scotch-Brite on them. And once I get that all done, and I take some of this either air oil or PB Blast, and I lube them valves up, and I take a magnet and I sit there and I just work it back and forth until that valve will just drop in and out real easy, almost fall out by itself. Once that's done, I put two of those small end plugs in here. This happened to come from GM when I worked for them. They use them for cleaning out throttle bodies. I assume they still sell them, but I don't know. And put your reverse servo in with the new O-ring. Set that on top. It's even better if you want to leave these on this particular one, since the clips come out the top. You can leave all this out, bolt this all down. Get these back where they go, and we'll measure them. Alright, we're going to start at the top over here, and we're going to work around in a clockwise. Two 369, 2-inch 782, same. Little one up in the tip, 1 inch, 1593, 2 783, 2 777, 2 376. And on our accumulators, you got O-rings that go on them. Like I said, it don't matter which one you put where. Springs, 2-inch 403, 756, 137. And you got this that'll only fit on one way. And the two bolts that hold it in are 4-inch 744. The feed tube, and we're too long, so we are 6 3/8. It should be the same. 5/8. Got this all bolted down, then you can put those valves in there and make sure they're going nice and free. These are your CPC valves. You want them super free. And put your end plugs in and put your clips in. Make sure the end plugs are pulled all the way back out this way against the clips, or fluid can't get behind there and stroke the valve. Put that back. This manual valve, the main pressure regulator, you're going to want to pull it out, make sure nobody's been in here before, even though it does have factory gaskets. I have seen it before where people didn't change the gaskets. What you want to do, this valve should be super free too. Take that screen right there, you're going to throw that away. And you want to pull this valve out. You want to make sure, because this one was hanging up, I would take it all the way out and clean all that out too. Make sure that there's, see that little hole that's drilled in right there? There's one drilled into this one. You can't put that plunger and spring and drill this out. So you would take the drill bit. It's 46 thousandths drill bit, and we would drill from this partition into this one. So we'd take the drill, and we drill in at an angle. What I do is I take this little center punch and I put me a ding on it so it doesn't slide off as easy. And then I'm going to drill all the way through that partition. You want to be careful doing that so you don't twist this and break it off. It makes it a pain to get out. And once you get that done, go ahead and put that back in. And you got all these springs that go on there. You got 3" 50 thousandths, 5/64, 73, and inside that you got 1" 733, 3/67, 65, and outside of that you got 1" 179, 1" 407, 178, and you got this cutout that's got to go on this bolt. Got a little tip. That little tip's going to ride right inside there. So just start your bolt in, put that on, push it down by hand, and if your bolt will bottom out, you're okay. Put that on. This little pin goes right here. Get our bolts in position, and we will measure them. start here and work around in the clockwise. 2-inch 772, 3-inch 355, 2-inch 782, 1-inch 194. Actually, I think this 2-inch 570 is going to go down here, and this 2-inch 774 is going to go up here. Two-inch 767, 2-inch 772, 2-inch 772. Now, I might as well measure our tubes. Small ones an inch 60 thousandths. And these three here are all the same, I believe. 2-inch 800. Yes, they're all the same. Going to turn this reverse servo. Has a chamfered side. It's going to face towards the counter shaft. Now I forgot this one. Had this little keeper that went down here. First one I've seen that had it on there. Actually, it was on the filter bolt. A small filter bolt will fit down here. Since I'm not going to put the filter back on, 763. The long filter bolt is 3-inch 155. Detent for the reverse servo goes in just like that, and the two bolts are 4-inch 929. Put our differential in. Put our counter shaft in. And I think we'll leave it right there. I'm going to go to lunch. Alright, me personally, this is the way I do my Hondas. I mark one side of the drum with an X. If you have a Honda that has both drums that are the same, then I would mark one with an X and one with an O. But it's not the case on this one. So I mark my piston, and I mark my retainer also. So it's got O-ring inside here, O-ring in here. It's a little flapper valve. You want to make sure that you can blow air out it, and also that it will hold fluid. Yeah, I hate to waste grease on it, but put my snap ring on, taper the tips up. And it's kind of hard to tell on this one. We want to taper up. Alright, then you got a O-ring on this one. The other one's the same way. Taper over the tips of our snap ring up again. Alright, our cushion plate dish is going to be up. Our steels are 99 thousandths. Clutches are all the same, so it doesn't matter. Make sure these are all 99 thousandths. And our pressure plate is 96. Snap ring 71. The dish on our cushion plate is up again. Our 88 thousandths on our steels. And our pressure plate's 95. Snap ring is 71. Got 3 O-rings there. We got 2 sealing rings here. The sealing rings have our scarf cut so they go together like so. We have a flat bearing, cage bearing, another flat bearing, and a race. The race goes with the lip up. And we would lube this up. Put our drum on. There we go, we're all the way down. We got this collar, a flat bearing, 2 caged bearings, this gear, this flat bearing, sit right there, and this brace on top. And sit on there, just like so. Here again, I marked an X on one of them. There's a O-ring down inside here. There's also one inside here on this side. O-ring balance piston. Some of these are molded pistons. You get into the later model ones. And press this in, taper over tips up. This one same way, O-ring. Turn spring, balance piston. Taper over our tips up. Alright, remember we destroyed our threads, taking the nut off. You just grind it down enough that you can get to the threads, and then you put another nut on there and it'll restore the threads. And you can grind a little flat spot in it if you want to stake it in. It'll work just fine. We got 3 O-rings here. Got 2 sealing rings here. I normally don't replace these. Lube this up. Shaft in all the way down. We got flat bearing, cage bearing, our gear that would normally replace because this other flat bearing destroyed. Help if I put my clutches in. We got a wavy ring. And our steels are 77. Pressure plate is 118. Snap ring is 70. Alright, so we got our cage bearing, our gear. Another flat bearing. We got this race with the beveled side of the teeth. It's going to face down. With these 2 half moon clips. This keeper is going to face with the this way. We've got our snap ring goes on top, taper our tips up. Wrong pliers. Now somebody's been messing with my pliers. One's supposed to go one way, one's supposed to go the other, and they're both going the same direction. Alright. No cushion plate on this side. Steels are 65. That one's 61. Might have misread the first one. The rest of these are 61. And our pressure plate is 113. And our snap ring 71. And we got this race flat bearing, cage bearing, our gear, and then what would have been the bearing, flat bearing on top. Got our gear with the cage bearing, our slider hub, this notched area is going to face up, our fork, our slider is going to face with this facing up. And line this hole up with the hole in our reverse servo shaft. Got this keeper and this shouldered bolt. This is going to sit on top of the fork. Bend the tab over against the bolt, keep it from backing out. Put this gear in just like that. Our cage bearing, our reverse gear, since we have a dowel pin here, the other two would go one up here, one over here. Go ahead and put them in our case. They're all the same on this particular one. Get that bearing out of the case. It's just snap ring right there. You take your snap ring pliers, these, spread that apart. Yeah. Get a different pair, straight tipped ones. Get in there and you spread that apart, and then you get you a hammer, beat that out of the case. And you got to be careful. They do get cocked easily. Don't just go hammering away on them trying to get them, you will break the case. So get it to where it's coming out nice and straight. Make sure your other two bearings are good. There is a selective shim underneath this race for the diff bearing. Magnet, clean that out if you're just doing a rebuild. And then your reverse idler, if it has this ID mark right here on both sides, or it looks like this on both sides, it don't matter which way it goes. If it's got this mark on there, it faces up towards you. So we're going to put it in the case just like this, right there. I'm going to reach through the case and hold it back as we're going down. We got several brackets here. This one here goes right here. This one here goes across the top. This one here goes over in this corner at the top. This one here goes in the right by where the VIN tag is. Alright, we'll get these bolts in the place that they belong, then we'll measure them. Alright. I'm going to start right here and then work in a clockwise motion. You got 2" 7/27. Same. You got 5" 281. 4" 689. 5" 291. 4" 686. 4" 686. 3" 110. 4" 700. 5" 278. Same. 3" 110. 2" 7/28. Same. Same. $14mm on the case button. Alright, we're going to push the idler gear back up into where it belongs. There's two different ends. There's a flat end. There's an end with a notch in it. That notch fits right in that area right there. And our wheel fits on there just like so. Yeah, normally I'd grease that up. We got two 10s that go down here. They are 1 inch. Alright. Got our park gear. See if I can do this without hitting the camera. I'm gonna move it. Got our flat bearing, caged bearing. The gear sits in there with this lip up. Alright, flat bearing. We got this hub that goes on top. I'm going to drive this down. Alright, let's find our chip teeth. There's one right there. Look right there, there's a chip tooth. Should be one right on this other side. Anyway, I'm going to find it, and I'm going to take this Scotch-Brite pad on this grinder, and I'm going to get in here and I'm going to buff that, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Alright, that's what they're going to look like when you get done. It'll be just fine. It will not make any noise. You can chip a tooth almost up to halfway up the gear, and as long as it's not halfway or above, you can do that and it'll work just fine. Alright, let me put this gear down. Got this gear, we're going to put this end down. Alright. We're not going to put a nut on the secondary shaft. I don't want to waste a nut. There's no need. This thing's going to be junked, so it doesn't matter. This one's left-handed threads. These two over here are right-handed threads. Inch and 5/8. Before you would go start staking those down, you want to hold your park gear, and you should be able to turn the other shafts. If you can't, then something's wrong. You stake your nuts in place. This spring is going to go in just like this. You're going to catch the spring on that roll pin right there. You got this piece, and this piece is going to sit inside there. Got another shoulder bolt with a locking tab. The tab is going to sit right in here. .10 millimeter. I'm going to bend that tab back over. I don't know if I mentioned it, but your washers go with the cave side in. Got our deal for our park. I can't even think right now. Alright, our springs the same on each end. I'm going to hook the spring in right here. It's going to be pointed in. Got this pin. Of course, you put your gasket on, then you got 3 O-rings. One would go here, 2 would go on these pipes. This is a dowel pin. Got a dowel pin over here. It's probably still up inside the cover. You can pull your linkage seal out and leave it out until you get the cover on. And up inside here, if you wanted to check the bushings on your shaft, you could put one single turn of cellophane tape, clear tape, around this area right here and around this. And when you slide it in there, it should push the tape off. You put it on this one here also. If it doesn't push the tape off, then your bushings are bad. That tube's going to stay in there. There's an O-ring here. Put this O-ring inside the case first. There's an O-ring right here. Put it on there like that. These tabs have to line up with the slots down there. The other one's the same way, except for it doesn't have a tube down the center of it. Probably just going to take this O-ring off. It's going to be a pain. You wouldn't have that luxury if you're building it. Like I said, it don't matter. This is getting junked. There we go. Like I said, take this one off the same way. There's an O-ring on the inside and an O-ring on the outside. Put the one on the outside down in the case first. difficult, are you? Get the bolts in the right position, and then we will go with how long they are. Alright, you got long ones and you got kind of shorter ones. You got the longer ones are inch 989 and the shorter ones are inch 578. And I'll go on the outside cover here. Normally I'd be putting a neutral switch on. These two bolts with the washers on them, those are your two bolts that hold the neutral switch down. I just line it back up where it was. These two bolts right here should be around an inch. And 913 thousandths, the one that holds the bracket on down here, is 678. You got your two speed sensors, one goes here, one goes here. You want the connectors facing that way. They'll only fit in one spot because of that. And then there again, there's the bolts that hold that in. 844. You got two different gaskets that go for the solenoid assembly here, the linear solenoid. You got 6 of these bolts. They're inch 200. One of them usually has this bracket on it. You can leave the bracket off. The lockup solenoid that sits up here has 3 bolts that holds it on. They're an inch 75 thousandths. The 2 shift solenoids, the black one goes on top, brown one goes on the bottom. And bolts hold those on 844. You got this banjo fitting for the cooler. You'd have have one of these washers that fits underneath, one that fits on top, and fit there. There's a bolt. This bolt goes in here, and then this would sit on there. Other cooler fitting would sit just like so. And you would have another short tin that holds that on right there. Some of the lock-up solenoids up here on this bracket would sit on there just like so. You can leave that off. This is a banjo bolt for the back cooler line fitting. This is the cover for the neutral switch, and it would have two short tins again. And some of them have a speed sensor here, and this is the bolt that holds that in. And right here you have a washer on the back of this pressure sensor. These are normally green, and screws in right there. And I guess that's it. Can't think of anything else.